Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Raleigh, and this is another edition of Raleigh Rambles, where I process something that I'm thinking about out loud and then share it with all of you. Today I want to talk a little bit about scaffolds and training wheels, and the reason that I'm thinking about training wheels is because I recently read Audrey Waters' article about the LMS and started a really fantastic Voxer conversation with some folks around that article, and we've been talking for about a week and a half now just about that one article, which I think in and of itself is just brilliant and I absolutely love it. But one of the things we started talking about the other day was the idea of training wheels, and do we have an obligation or should we be using things like an LMS as training wheels for students to get exposed to the internet, to other online tools? Is the LMS sort of acting as those training wheels, and where do we fall in terms of our obligation to provide training wheels for kids, for students? And so I started thinking about that very literal interpretation of training wheels and the purpose behind them. And really, when we say training wheels, we're likening that to scaffolds. The purpose of a scaffold, in my mind, is really to get students to a specific outcome or expectation, not necessarily to change one of those things, but to have that same expectation or outcome for everybody, but to allow learners to have a different path in order to get there, and along that path to really provide different supports for them so that they can get to that outcome or expectation. And so when we think about very literally the purpose of training wheels, it's meant as a tool to help very small children learn how to ride a bike. And we don't expect that physically or developmentally that very small children are able to just jump on a bike with two wheels and start riding. There are a lot of factors there that are sort of outside of their control. And so their balance is not quite there. Sometimes they're not even tall enough that their feet reach the ground or the pedals. The motion of pedaling and then figuring out how to propel yourself forward is something that very small children aren't able to do. And so we put training wheels on their bicycles so that they can start to kind of feel it out, get comfortable with the process of riding a bike. They can kind of realize what that balance should feel like, figure out how to pedal, and get familiar with the process, both the skills involved in riding a bike, as well as giving them some time to just developmentally grow and get to that next stage of development so that they're able to ride a bike with two wheels. Now, the thing about training wheels is that eventually we take them off. We don't leave training wheels on bicycles until kids are 14, 15 years old. We take the training wheels off as soon as we feel that they're able to. And there are a couple things that happen when we do that. One is sometimes they fall down, and we don't expect that they're able to take the training wheels off and then just ride the bike smoothly and that everything's going to be perfect from there on out. There are probably going to be some bumps and bruises and scrapes along the way, and there's definitely going to be an adjustment period of, now I have to feel all of this out, and I have to figure out what it's like to be on this bike with two wheels and no training wheels. There's nothing right there to kind of help me balance and catch me if I do kind of wobble. And so we expect that, and we just know that to be part of the experience. The other thing that we do is that we still are there. We don't just say, you're taking your training wheels off? Awesome, see you later. We are still there when kids take their training wheels off, because we hold the back of their bike seat and we give them a little push, and we're, when they do fall down, we're there to run over and say, oh, bummer, you fell down, let's get back up and try again. We act as their cheerleader and their nurse if they're scraped up. There are all these roles that we play when going through the process of teaching children how to ride a bike and then taking off the training wheels. And so I'm kind of thinking about the purpose of training wheels is eventually to take them off, and that the training wheels go away, and that eventually at some point we go away. We don't walk next to our children for their entire life when they're riding a bicycle. Eventually the training wheels come off, we get them comfortable with it, we make sure that they're able to ride safely, and eventually what we want is kids who are able to ride their bike on their own and make good decisions about safety and trust that they're wearing their helmet every time. There's so many things that are wrapped up in this metaphor. And I wonder sometimes, how often do we say we're putting training wheels out there, but we forget to take them off, and we forget that that doesn't mean that we can just walk away. And so I want to think today about how are we making sure that when we provide training wheels for students or for teachers, that we're not just putting training wheels on and walking away, but that we're still standing next to them, that we're still offering supports, that we're still giving them different kinds of scaffolds once we take the training wheels off, and that eventually we are feeling confident about them going out and being able to do certain things on their own, apply those things to their real world, and also eventually, I think if we're really doing our job, they're the ones who are providing supports to others. And so I ask of you today, what is the purpose of training wheels? What is the purpose of scaffolds? I really want to honor teachers who feel that they struggle, and honor teachers who admit, gosh, I'm so, confused about all of this technology and I just don't know where to begin. Let's help them. Let's give them an LMS or a Google Classroom or a tool or whatever it is, whatever support they need. But let's also not forget that at some point we need to kind of encourage them, and we need to help them take those training wheels off and take that scaffold away. Because I think that it's a real shame if we put things out there and we say, well, teachers will need support with this, so hey, here's this thing, let's just stick training wheels on something, and then we can walk away and we don't have to provide the kind of ongoing support that they actually need so that they can eventually take the training wheels off. So I leave you with that today, to think about scaffolds and training wheels, both with students as well as adults, and perhaps even in thinking about something like an LMS. And I just would ask you to contribute any ideas that you have. I would love to hear your comments and ideas on these topics. And I hope that you are having a wonderful day, a great week, and I will talk to you soon.